All right, I'm going to color drawings, just like the title said. That's right. So these are some I've been working on for the Doodleverse Comics #2. And got 17 pages so far. So that's, getting there. Getting there. Mr. Afterthought says, "Good morning, good sir. Good morning, Mr. Afterthought." All right. Let's get to it. This one is a drawing I did during Pat's show when he was watching Joey C's show in the hopes that Joey would provide this scandalous criminal record of Carmen X, and all it was, a couple of traffic violations, driving without a license, stuff like that. But anyway, Joey was going on about how he did his investigation and stuff. And so he mentioned Joey should be a private investigator. So I thought, well, there's an idea. So we'll go ahead and start there. I've got these others. Well, this one's done, although I may change the background. But that's from Melton's show. So these are also from when he did these police videos, and I remember drawing these people. I can't remember all of the different elements, but I do remember this guy was a flight attendant and got busted, and he lost his mind. They had to put the spit mask on him. And this was some privileged girl crying about having to go to jail when all she had to do was listen to them. But you know the deal. I forget what this did. They were all at the airport. I do remember that. And I can't remember what this guy he just lost it, and apparently did piss on himself at the Slayerist. So anyway, so I'm gonna I thought about like a sketchbook section, and I still might, because I got my own doodles that have nothing to do with Dabbleverse, and might put those in there. But these, I guess, become honorable mentions from NLO. We'll do something like that. But anyway, here, sometimes it'll be like a one-page thing. I've done one where it's like a faux comic book cover of Karmic, as I was just, what did I call? I didn't call him Seaman Demon, but I called him, just Demon Mask, I think is what I call it, because he kept going on and on about the Demon Mask. And I don't know, I went with it. So that's in there. I did one for April Imholt, or Anderson now, I guess. Haven't heard from her in a long time now. It's all very sad, but I don't know. I just got it in my head to do one of Woods Girl, like she was some sort of, I don't know, a jungle adventuress, but only in the woods. So stuff like that. There'll probably be a couple others. And so Joey C, I'll probably use the image here for something like that. Like it's Joey C Investigates, something of that nature. And so here he is in the proverbial trench coat. Didn't do enough coverage. Looking into, I guess, the Karmic X case. I don't know. And it's got the hat. I'll make a different color for that one. And of course, in the 40s, in the film noir era, it was just standard. You gotta have the trench coat. I don't even know if it really is a trench coat. I mean, it's the same length and stuff. I think trench coat actually came out of the coats soldiers wore in World War One, because, well, they were in the trenches, and they had those long coats. And, it's that length. So most of these were kind of akin to raincoats and stuff. But, you know, an overcoat, whatever, and all the detectives wore them and all that stuff. Boy, did I screw this up. Of course, I wasn't really following it all that closely. Which is why I always defer to the term doodle, even though they're a little more than that. But some not so much, you know? So it just sort of encapsulates the, as a catch-all, you know? Let's see. Maybe this will work. I don't know. Okay. Just to get some amount of accuracy. Yes. Yes. There we go. Something like that. Yeah, that'll do. Good enough. Good enough. And, of course, as we know, that is the show's motto. It only has to be good enough. There we go. Well, maybe a little lighter. So anyway, yeah, that was it. Karmic apparently got busted, you know, years ago, for driving without a license. He got a slap on the wrist, some probation, whatever. And then after all that deal was said and done, he got busted doing the same thing again. So, you know, and all of this apparently spun out of him saying that he's better than Joey C because at least he's never been in trouble with the law or got arrested or charged or something of that nature. And so Joey, well, yeah. So Joey, you know, looked into him and, you know, eventually found some charges on. There was another one. He had an open container in someone else's car. So he got busted for that too. But nothing all that earth-shattering. I mean, as soon as it was mentioned, of course, the mind begins to wander, yeah. And there was claims that he got into some trouble and may have committed an assault on somebody. Now, this might have been, I don't know, a bar fight or something like that. The other thing was I often wondered if he ran afoul of whatever employment he had to where they just wanted him out of there and called the police to trespass him off the property. And I was wondering if it was anything like that basically isolates him more. Everybody says, well, he lives in the middle of nowhere and all that type of stuff. Yeah, but there's still stuff around. More than likely he's isolated from just about everybody around because, well, they got to know him, you know. And he probably burned a lot of bridges over the years, that sort of thing. But ultimately, this was just Joey wanting to one-up him. And, you know, I'm like confounded by it because I'm like, yeah, you don't have to do that. Because whatever mistakes or flaws you have, you've lived more of a life than he apparently ever will. You know, and he's always sitting there boasting about being a man and all that stuff, and is always claiming like everybody else is just a pathetic child and ignorant of life and whatnot. When it's him. You know, he's ignorant about a great many things, and a great many things that are rather basic. But, you know, you know, I guess Joey was pissed at him for, you know, crapping on him and all that, especially over something like that, when once again he claimed something and then come to find out it isn't true. And that's the other thing about karma. You know, one, you don't have to prove anything of yourself to the likes of karma, because that's just pathetic. And he is a liar. I mean, he just lies all the time. And so, you know, don't waste your time. Now, I mean, if you say, well, let's just see out of curiosity and stuff like that. But he said it in the Pat's chat, that, and it's rather, it's a bit of a tease, you know, and it was like, oh, well, what did Joey find? You know, and, well, not a whole lot. Not really. So, I mean, he proved his point, you know, that, see, yeah, Karmic's, yeah, he's not squeaky clean and all that, but, So that was the deal there. But, seems there wasn't anything else. For what he was looking at and all that. Because you know, when he came on the show very briefly, was there anything about an assault or anything like that? And he said, well, I'm not seeing it here. So, yeah, you know, that could just be somebody, you know, much like Karmic himself does. But, which there again, you don't have to make up stories about Karmic. The real story is sad enough. So anyway, that's the story of how, I don't know, Detective Catalano here was inspired to, well, I don't know about come to life, but be depicted. So he gets his own, you know, Sunday night mystery movie series where Joey Catalano has got to go solve crimes as a private investigator. And I guess like the Karmic X case was one of many and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, instead of Columbo, it's Catalano. Yeah. Except, of course, he never got to meet Mrs. Columbo. It was always mentioned in the old Columbo movies, you know. But in the case of Joey, I mean, Mrs. C would probably show up here and there. Now, would he be tempted by the femme fatale of the week, that type of thing? Well, the show would suggest it, but of course, our hero Joey won't give in to that temptation. He just loves his Mrs. C too damn much, you know. And that's how the shows would always end in that sort of situation. And you want to stretch out the plots over time, you know. You don't want to just keep doing that every week. So most of it would just be, you know, the villains like on Columbo. They would all think, who's this dummy? Oh, yeah, I'm going to pull the wool over this guy's eyes. And then, holy crap, it doesn't turn out that way. They get busted. And, I underestimated you, Joey. Yeah, you did. You know, that's how it would go. So there's all kinds of ideas for shows surrounding Joey C. So just his own actual story makes a good, premise for a sitcom. It's the Catalanos. You could do that. And even the whole story about, the daughter stabbing him and all that. Yeah, you can make that a backstory. So, she gets out of prison and comes home to live with dad and all that. And, you make that a backdrop of the story. You just, gee, how is this family going to get together? Well, tune in and find out all the hijinks and stuff like that. Then, oh, damn it. What was it? Oh, Spider Alomar. Yeah, you can have him around. He'd be a recurring character. He'd be like Joey's buddy. They go on little adventures, little schemes that's going to really make them all rich. And they never work. But that's all a part of the fun, And you got a show there. You do. And that would just be one show. And then, of course, you go into Catalano, the mystery movie. See, they got to bring those back. So it's like kind of operates like a TV series, but it's actually the mystery of the week type thing. And I don't know, you just put it on Netflix or whatever. And that's the deal. Of course, they would rotate them. Columbo was one show. Then there was McLeod. And then, McMillan and Wife. Though now, thanks to Jim Norton, most referred to it as McMillan and Beard, due to the fact that it starred Rock Hudson. All that sort of thing. And you could understand that. So you could have a series of shows like that. So they rotate them around. So one Sunday, I think it was McLeod. Then the next Sunday it's Columbo. Then the next Sunday it's McMillan and Wife. And then eventually, I don't know, the wife suddenly left. They never really explained. I guess, she found out about her husband and they divorced. So then it was just McMillan. And he would just solve the crimes on his own. Yeah. As once in a while, she wanted to be with a man who actually wanted to have sex with her. You can understand that. So, it's sad, but the marriage just wasn't going to last. So there you go. But still, he hasn't given up his passion of solving crime. So, something like that. So, geez, you got to think up other shows to go alongside Joey's Catalano show. I don't know. Well, I mean, now, of course, Pat Dixon would make a great detective character or something like that, so you could put him in there. Was going to do Werewolf Detective, but then I found out there's already a book. I think it's Andrew Klavan's book, Werewolf Cop. I know he likes detective stories, but I didn't think it was about any had any werewolves in it. So I don't know. I did do some artwork for it, And I was just screwing around with it. I think it was Pat who suggested that the idea being that, there's a case, but he never really solves it. He just walks around, goes to the corner store and buys some cigarettes, babbling on about everything else but the case, and then it kind of just solves itself off to the side. Something like that. But I started the artwork where he had this back in, we were still fascinated with AI art, so he'd do a bunch of images, and one of them was this it was like this voluptuous woman in a blue dress, But did she have? I think she had 3 breasts, but she had this giant pig's head for a head and a 3rd leg. So, like the private investigators scenarios and stuff, it's always some damsel in distress type thing. And so I said, okay, so I called her Hogatha. And so I drew her into the story. And I had this story about how this happened and what it all was. But part of that was just, now I got to figure out how he, werewolf detective just loses interest and the case just kind of resolves itself on its own. And but he still expects to get paid, of course. But anyway. But I don't know. I don't know if I'll put in the effort to resolve that. So there we go. Yeah, I'm Joey C., a private investigator. I'm working on this case, and I would appreciate your cooperation. So each week, investigating a murder. And, of course, he gets too close to the guilty party and, well, they're going to try to do him in. So stuff like that. I don't know if he gets bonked on the head like Mannix. Maybe once in a while. I mean, a lot of the action, like for Columbo, there wasn't a whole lot of, I mean, there was never any like fisticuffs or anything. So maybe Joey would be more close to that type of stuff. I mean, there might be people who, threaten him and we don't want you around here. Well, that's too bad because I'm here. I'm here. That kind of thing. Nothing really comes of it. And then, of course, in Joey's case, we just, he just sort of walks into the solution, or stumbles into it, however you want to put it. And that would be the solution to the crime. But you got to establish a certain amount of charm to the character, to the show, because they're going to be repetitive, of course. Hey, this is the same thing every episode. Well, yeah. But, of course, the only difference would be some of the stylings and personalities of the villains, the ones who are trying to get away with murder. And it almost all works, and then here comes Catalano. Or Catalano. Why did I say Cata? No, wait, I don't want to do that. All right. It kind of works. Oh, yeah. And we'll put a little bit of color over the lens here. Whoop. All right. Okay. Yeah, I'll come up with some background. probably utilize a AI background, work good enough, put a halftone pattern on it, come up with some Joey C. detective logo. Yeah, it should work. Should work. Let me look at the chatter. Mr. Afterthought, happy Friday. Thank you. Mr. Afterthought is laughing emojis. Mr. Afterthought, Seaman Demon. Yes. Mr. Dick Tracy, yellow coat. Yeah, I guess I could have given him one. But Back So Jazz, good morning to everybody. Thank God it's Friday. Top of the morning chat, says Mr. Afterthought. Mr. Afterthought, how super gay is Starfleet Academy? Pretty gay from what I've heard. I only saw the first episode. That was enough. And I think I'll finish Strange New Worlds just because, well, I watched the other, 3? And that'll be it for me as far as... And I think that'll be it for Kurtzman Trek. I think this is done. I can't... How the hell do they keep going on? But anyway... Says, I don't have Paramount Plus, so I'm just wondering if it's a parody or do they think they are serious? They think they're serious. So, I mean, you're pretty deep in the bubble at that level. So, you know, they've had years to figure this out, and they're not gonna. So, Mr. Afterthought, a dirty back alley background. Yeah, probably something like that. And yo, who's gonna clean this up? You know, maybe Mrs. C in the background. You are, Joey. Anyway, there we go. That's private investigator Joey C, or Joey C PI, however you want to put it. Now back to the airport arrests. This one, yeah, this one's done. I think I guess I could add some amount of definition here, maybe there, and he's really pissed that he's getting arrested. So pissed that he's pissing on himself. Yeah, we'll add more to that. It's running down his leg, and there's really no call for that. But I seem to recall some amount of intoxication. So, you know, that's his story. And I wrote up here, you will smell my pee. And I don't remember if he actually said that. But odds are he did. So, yeah, don't think the officer pissed his pants. There we go. All right. So, it seems like there was quite a few. Just like people would just get busted at the airport a lot. I mean, a lot of them they would try to get on the plane intoxicated, and there's like, oh, no, you don't. So they would throw them off. And they, this is ridiculous. And they would throw a fit and stuff. Not much would have come of it, but they just can't shut up and just go, you know. And it's the same situation in a lot of those arrest videos. It's just, that's just the way it goes. And one thing leads to another. Next thing you know, well, and some of them, they just, once it's blatantly obvious. I mean, arguing with them is never going to work. You know, trying to, somehow you're going to argue the police officer into thinking, oh my goodness, I think I was in the wrong the whole time. And, you know, it's never going to happen. So, and of course, in the case of the the drunkards, they're drunk, so they're stupid, and not thinking straight at all. That sort of thing. But then you got a few, they're not drunk. They're just stupid and nuts, which a lot of times can be a dangerous, lethal combination. But for the most part, it's just, really stupid. And they all end up getting arrested, And as they escalate things, they get more and more ridiculous. That's when they end up like this guy in the spit mask. Now, I don't recall if they put him in the wrap, where they pretty much, you're just all wrapped up in this thing. And they'll toss you in the van or the back of the car or whatever. And, well, I don't like this. Yeah, well, you're not really meant to, dummy. So this was a guy who, was a flight attendant, but I don't know if he was just traveling, what the deal was. But anyway, he showed up intoxicated and got out of hand and all that. So not only does he get busted and hauled off and all that sort of stuff, but he's going to lose his job, the airline's going to find out that you willingly violated one of the most basic requirements of being allowed onto the plane. But again, hey, he was drunk, So I think he even said, I guess this is the end of my career or something like that, Yes. And, well, it should be. I mean, don't get on the plane drunk. Oh, yeah, there was another where I think it was 2 women. They were both drunk and caused a big old ruckus. And then there was one where it was some lady who was morbidly obese and was in a wheelchair. I mean, she could walk, but not for very long, so she, used the wheelchair. And I don't know if she showed up with clothes or what. She was at some facility. She kept going into hospitals and stuff, claiming to be deathly ill or whatever. And they would check her out and everything's, fine except for her obesity, And they said, look, that's it. You got to go. And, well, she didn't want to leave and stuff like that. So the police had to come get her. And, so she was just sitting there with a bed sheet over her, and that was it. So she was pretty much naked other than that. And so, yeah, was it an airport or was she? Maybe she was still at the facility, and that's what we call, not the airport. I forget. But it's kind of the same scenario, And they bent over backwards, and she just was determined. Yeah, she's not going home for whatever reason, whatever her BS was about. And I think she spit in an officer's face or something like that. And, all right, you're going to jail. So I guess she wanted to because she didn't want to go home. I don't know. That's another one probably burned every bridge in her life, and nobody wants anything to do with her. And she can't begin to understand why. And So that's ultimately what she did. She assaulted a police officer. So he said, all right, you're going to jail. So I guess that's one solution to her ordeal. And so then they had to get a winch truck to load her up because you weren't going to be able to transport her. You know, certainly not in a squad car or even their, paddy wagon. So they had to get a flatbed truck. Yeah, it's hilarious. But, all you had to do was go home, stupid. But she was determined to make a thing of it all. Oh, I got it. Well, go ahead and flatten that. Yeah. And, well, I guess she won that round. She wanted all this attention and concern and, well, not so much concern as disgust and irritation and whatnot, but whatever. She didn't go home. She went to jail. So if she can't have the hospital, she'd rather go to jail. And so she did. So, yeah, I guess she kind of won that one. From her deranged perspective. But this guy, he ended up with the spit mask. Just totally losing his shizness. And, he was probably going to lose the job anyway. Because, the violation of the most basic of policies. But, to go out like Hannibal Lecter or something, it's just ridiculous. And it's like, well, he was drunk, but he didn't start out drunk. He chose to get plastered. Just one gulp after another. Next thing you know, causing all kinds of problems. The pilot's like, get him off my plane. And I'm like, come on, stupid. And it's like, no, I'm not just any passenger. I think he said something like that too. Yeah, like, but I am a flight attendant or some crap. And well, not anymore. And especially when it comes to the planes, the captain of the plane, he's basically God of that plane. If he wants you off, you're off. And that's that. It's just like, I don't know. I saw one of these guys. I don't think he looks right to me. And next thing you know, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to leave. And you're going to be pissed, of course. But there is nothing you can do. You can file a complaint and all that. And I don't know. Maybe, well, upon further review. And then they'll just, we'll give you some credit for another ticket. Let's see here, maybe. some of this here. All right, there we go. Another fun day at the airport. The police get to go hang out at the airport. Yeah. I mean, some of them are, it's almost like going to the mall, you know? So, yeah, it might be a fun trip. I don't know. Oh, yeah, there was the original line. I forget. Oh, well. There we go. I don't think they were at the same airport, but they were on the same show. And that's what I did. And now I can't remember what color hair this lady had. But, you know, it was an awful lot of... all she had to do was comply. She would have gotten a citation, stuff like that. But she's like, "This is not happening," and well, it did. And then they actually got her in the squad car, and you could hear her saying, "I better be going to the comfy jail." The comfy. Wait, why did I do that? That's not going to work. Yeah. Bloop. 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 Come on, one more. Bloop. There we are. I can just go over the color. The color. All right. Whoops, whoops, whoops. Damn. All right. Okay. Gotta fix the badge. Good enough. And there we go. All right. There always seems to be an upside down triangle on the left shoulder. Sometimes on the right too. I don't know, it just depends on what department it is, I guess. I don't know. And some of these guys, they had like some like dark green uniforms, and some had like brown or tan one. But you know, basic blue of some sort is sort of universal. You know, this guy is a policeman. Yeah. Oh wait. Yeah. There we go. Okay. Okay. Unsightly spots. Yes. Now they all go away. Okay. All right. We'll add. Whoop! Not that one. This one. Or. Damn it. Or whatever's on his utility belt. I just assume that it holds some significance. Probably most of that's just for show, you know. Okay, that works. Okay, let's see. I guess that. All right. Whoop. Okay. So she's all upset. Usually crying a lot, she would get her way. But it didn't work this time. No, not that one. This one. So then, you know, you're being mean. And, you know, it's like, well, quit breaking the law, stupid. I'm not. You just did. No. No. That's ridiculous. And surprisingly enough, none of these actions work. They all end up in the squad car. But the only iota of acceptance of the reality was her saying, I better get a comfy jail. You know, I'm not one of those, you know, people. And you are now, you know. But Okay. Now we gotta shave some of this off. There we go. We don't need that there.